Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
Miranda cautiously peeked out from behind the curtain to discreetly observe what was happening outside the window. Her parents were walking around the yard, putting things in and out of the trunk. It was obvious that her mother and father could not come to a common opinion and were shouting something to each other. Suddenly the phone rang and the girl shuddered. "Miranda, where are you?" Her friend's voice came through the phone. "We've been waiting for half an hour." "How are we waiting for you, Kate?" "The parents haven't left yet," she sighed. "They're having a disagreement about something. And you know my father forbade me to take the car. Why don't you drive from Williams? I'll find you at the club." "Okay, come on, we'll wait for you." Kate answered and hung up. "Jesus, when did you already?" embarrassed hissed. "I'm Miranda." Cautiously, looking out the window. Finally, she heard the distinctive sound of the gate opening and a black Hummer pulled into the street. The girl waited about 5 minutes and ran downstairs with an arrow. She answered nothing to the housekeeper's question and rushed to open the garage. "Hello, darling." Joyfully, she shouted and jumped into her red Mazda. "So are we going for a ride today?" Miranda happily drove out of the gate and turned in the opposite direction to avoid running into her parents on the way. She turned the music up to full volume and hit the gas. "Kate, I'm pulling up." She dialed her friend's number. "Are you sitting at our table?" "No, it's taken." "We're stage right," she said excitedly. "Hurry up, we're waiting for you." The girl increased the gas, and 20 minutes later, she pulled up to the building with the sign Night Express. Miranda parked her car and happily ran into the club. "Miranda, hi," cheered her friends as she approached a familiar table. "Come join me, please." A whiskey and Coke was ordered by Miranda. "Can it be colder?" "Listen, Miranda, we want to go out this weekend," said the tall, handsome guy. "Will you come with us?" "William, you know I'm having problems with my parents right now," the girl said with annoyance. "They're annoying. There's no life from them. If it works out, I'm all for it. And where shall we go?" "We could go to Houston or Miami," he said. "I'm sick of San Francisco. We've been to almost all the best nightclubs in the company." Miranda and William were the children of very wealthy people. Despite his recklessness, the guy still had boundaries he wouldn't cross. But for the girl, there were no barriers. From the outside, she could seem absolutely fearless. But in fact, Miranda just liked to take risks. It gave her great pleasure. The girl's parents too late rushed to bring up their daughter. So by the age of 20, she became simply uncontrollable and completely lived her own life. The only leverage her father found was the Miranda car when he was home. She obeyed, he couldn't. But as soon as her parents were out of the gate, Miranda would shamelessly open the garage and take her car. "Miranda, your parents are fine." The guy laughed. "You're a tough one to deal with. The last time you were alive was a miracle about a year ago. Young people were having extreme races in the countryside. It wasn't the first time Miranda had participated. She had her husband's Toyota. During the race, Miranda failed to control the car and her car flew into the air and flipped several times. Everyone was in shock, watching her somersault after she landed. No one was sure if the girl could have survived such a thing. But to everyone's surprise, Miranda only suffered damage to her right arm. 3 months later, the girl got behind the wheel again, but with a new car. Her old Toyota could not be reassembled. "Come on," Miranda replied. "Life is a constant drive, and what's there to do at home? Youth will pass and we'll never try anything." "Miranda, let's go dancing," grabbed her hand. Kate and the girls ran downtown to the dance floor. The evening went pretty well, and it was about 12 p.m. by the time the company packed up to go home. "William, come on," Miranda shouted. "Kate, Ethan, with me." "All right," the guy winked at her. "Kathy, Alex, get in with me." The cars aligned on the road. And with a general shout of "let's go," the race was on. William, very fast, but Miranda kept up with him. The guy was smoothly pushing the speed limit. The girl, on the other hand, was just ripping away. I guess you could say they crossed the finish line together. At least, that's what it looked like to everyone. Whoa. The friends were screaming at the top of their lungs. That was awesome. The boys rode around some more. They had to get home. The highway was almost deserted. and they made it in half an hour. So I'll see you this weekend then." William said goodbye to his friends. Miranda called, "How's it going with your folks?" It was the kind of company the guys had been friends with for years. Ethan, Kate, William, and Miranda were in the same class. Kathy and Alex joined them later. It was summer, and the young people were enjoying their vacations. William had been sent abroad by his parents after graduation, so he was looking forward to seeing his friends again. In the Czech Republic, his classmates didn't work out so well. So these guys were his only company. Miranda's parents wanted to send her to England to study, but the girl boycotted them. She almost 2 weeks did not eat anything and did not leave her room. Finally, the father gave up and spit on his daughter's future. Miranda kept screaming, "He's furious. With you, it's just impossible to finish some institute here and get out of my house wherever you want. Don't worry, I won't stay here much longer, or I'll surely die from your order here. You've been fighting, daughter. How much shame have we suffered because of you? Oh my God, I'd rather put you in an orphanage. My father wouldn't stop." Miranda was a difficult child from childhood. How many governesses did Michael have as a child? God only knew. The girl then put buttons under the chair, then tossed her purse dog food, then screamed from morning till evening, and it was impossible to calm her down. It was even worse at school. Teachers constantly complained about her fights with older students, and once she got into a fight with a gym teacher and tripped someone. She put in math in front of the whole class crumbled to the floor, then put crushed chalk on the teacher's desk. This left huge white spots. All in all, the parents had had enough of their daughter over the years. Mother and father from childhood took the child to a psychologist, but that didn't help either. Miranda herself could not explain why she had such an attitude towards her parents. Maybe because her father and mother were arrogant, and because of their status did not really consider ordinary people. From early childhood, the girl heard how her father humiliated both the servants and her governess people with whom he had to work. Michael considered himself a hereditary Muscovite. His grandfather founded the first architectural firm in the capital. Miranda's father was engaged in construction. His company builds up the suburbs of Moscow and the Moscow region with cottages and houses. For 20 years, there was a crazy demand for this business. That's why the family became more and more prosperous. "Miranda, did you take the car?" without asking again. She heard a voice through her sleep. "I warned you that I would take it away from you. God, my head hurts. Why are you screaming?" The girl put her hand on her forehead. "Leave me alone. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon." The father wouldn't stop. "Have you been out all night with your friends again? Please go away." Miranda's head was exploding. "Let's talk later." The father shouted for another 5 minutes. But when he realized it was useless, he slammed the door and left. "Kelly, will you at least talk to her?" He shouted angrily to his wife. "Maybe she'll listen to you." "If she doesn't care what you say, then she doesn't care what I say," his wife replied. "What are we gonna do with this naughty girl? Why don't we marry her off? Yes, she'll blow up her husband's house, and we'll not only get her back, but we'll get a bill." The father said in anger, "When is she going to get out of this house?" "Mike, take her calmly, talk to her. Maybe she'll listen to you," said the mother hopefully. "It's just that Miranda is very spoiled in life. She has never done anything. She has never done anything on her own. Let's send her somewhere, so to speak, on correctional labor." "But where?" Dad was angry. "She'll annoy everyone everywhere. If only to the Chuchi and their reindeer." "Look, maybe it's true." Kelly got excited. "You want to send her to Alaska?" Her husband looked at her in amazement. "No," she laughed. "Let's send her to some reserve or park for the summer, where nature, animals, silence." Yeah, she'd never agreed to that. My father shook his head negatively. "And you think of something," insisted the wife. "Take the car from her and tell her that you will give it to her only on condition that she will work somewhere for 2 months. Mike, stop messing around with her." Kelly looked at him sternly. "You can't do that either." "Oh, I don't know." Michael sighed. "And if she runs away from home, that's a definite possibility. Then let her provide for herself. No car, no money, no free food. She's finished. We're not going to run after her anymore." "All right, tonight. How is she?" "I'll talk to her. agreed Miranda father. We really need to get this over with. She'll drive us to the grave with her antics. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening when the girl finally got up. Her head was still reeling from last night's cocktails. There was, "Why do you dislike me so much, Margarita?" she whispered, pulling the pills from her desk. "We were so good together yesterday." After half an hour, the girl began to come to her senses. She didn't feel like going anywhere today. She was lying on her bed when her father knocked on her door. "I hope now that it's almost 7 o'clock p.m. we can talk," he said sternly. "But let's spill what it is this time." Miranda said unhappily, "You're going to lecture me again." "Not this time. I'm giving you an ultimatum." Michael looked at his daughter with a penetrating gaze. "What does that mean?" She wondered. "Do I have to do something?" "Miranda, listen to me." Coldly, my father said, "Or are you going to work from tomorrow where I tell you to go? Or do you go to hell?" "Everybody out of my house." "Yes, please." Demonstrably got up the girl out of bed and began to pack her things without you and certainly live without you. "You didn't listen to me. I tried to keep my cool." "Man, if you don't do what I tell you, you're out of here tomorrow with nothing. You might as well be naked. No car, no money, no cell phones, not even clothes. You're not taking anything from this house. Are you out of your mind in anger?" Screaming daughter. "You're out of your mind. You old idiot. God damn it. I hate you so much." Miranda screamed at the top of her voice. Michael stood silently and let her say what she wanted to say. "I think you've made your point," he said calmly. "You have until tomorrow morning to think about it. I'll come by at 9 o'clock. His father went out and closed the door. He heard the thumping from the pillow as something fell to the floor and apparently shattered. The girl was tearing and throwing. And the issue wasn't that she needed to work. She didn't want to obey her father, and to her, this ultimatum looked like defeat. "What am I supposed to do now?" she asked Kate William when they arrived and picked her up. "You won't get off me now, but you'll live with us in the dorm," her friend suggested. "We're bagging part-time jobs at night now, so we'll take you with us." "You're out of your mind." Miranda looked at her unhappily. "You want me to clean offices." "So what?" Kate objected. "Do you want to stay on the street?" "I'd rather have a job like that." "By the way, what kind of job did he offer you?" "I don't know. He didn't tell me anything about it today." The girl was angry. "How will he make me clean toilets somewhere?" "You old idiot, Miranda." "Oh, come on." William intervened. "Your parents are fine. Your father won't offer you anything bad. You don't know him very well." The girl looked at him unhappily. "He must be getting back at me for everything. It pisses me off that I can't do anything. He said he's going to take everything away from me." "Well, tomorrow morning he will tell you everything, and then you will decide for yourself," said the guy. "Let's go somewhere." "Why?" "We'll die of boredom here." He started his car and they drove to their favorite bar. And there was already waiting for them with a screwdriver and a nail, and Margarita Miranda had had one too many that night. "Can you hear me?" Tried to wake up his daughter Michael. "Open your eyes." But the girl couldn't. Her head was all mixed up. Her eyes were all jumbled up. Her tongue wouldn't turn and she couldn't say anything. "What a mess," scolded the father, walking nervously around the room. "If yesterday I doubted what I wanted to do, today I'm completely sure of it. Kelly, you're absolutely right. This has to end now. I'll talk to her about sleeping too." His wife backed him up. "I can't stand her anymore. Let her go to hell," he scolded. "I don't care what happens to her. Kelly, I can't take it anymore." The man sat down on a chair, covered his face with his hands and cried. His wife came over and hugged him. Kelly has dreamed of having a son her whole life. And when she became pregnant, the first time she and her husband chose the name Miranda for the boy. But the pregnancy ended in a miscarriage in the 5th month. They tried many times afterward, but it didn't work out for a long time. It wasn't until they were both in their 40s that they had a daughter. How much love did her parents put into her? Did they indulge her whims, forgiving all her antics? But the girl grew up insensitive. She seemed to love neither her mother nor her father. How many times they talked to her, but all was useless. Miranda couldn't get out of bed for almost 2 days. Finally, she felt better and went down to the kitchen. In addition to the servants, her mother was there. "Did you come in cold?" she asked. "Very well. Father will be here soon." "What do you want from me?" Miranda was angry. "Could you please leave me alone?" "Not this time," said the mother dryly. "Miranda, you've had enough." She looked angrily at her daughter and left the kitchen. "I'm sick of your lectures, aren't I?" The girl was indignant. "Only know how to bring up. You should look at yourselves." Miranda drank coffee and ate a little. She wasn't ready to talk to her father, but she realized that she couldn't avoid it. She was afraid to leave the house, too. "What if he won't let me home anymore?" Thought girl, what kind of job does this jerk want to offer me? What am I going to do now? An hour later, my father came home from work. He quickly left his things and asked his wife and daughter to enter his office. So Miranda looked sternly at his daughter. "Your mother and I have been waiting for you to come to your senses for a very long time. But unfortunately, it never happened. This time we are talking to you in all seriousness. The jokes are over. The job I want to offer you has to do with nature. It's a national park. You'll be an assistant forester or research assistant. You will have several people working there. The job involves doing the tasks that the forester will give you." The girl looked at him in amazement. At first, she was greatly surprised, but then anger appeared on her face. "Are you two completely out of your minds?" shouted Miranda. "You want me to clean up with the authorities there? No way, not gonna happen. You'd rather clean the toilets." Her mother yelled at her in anger. "We'll make it happen for you. Miranda, it's your choice." Father said coldly. "Either you work until September in a national park, or you're out of here with your ass naked right now. That's my last word." For the first time in her life, the girl realized that the way she wanted, she wouldn't do it anymore. It left her in complete shock. Miranda had never faced a situation like this before, so she had to make a decision. With well-beladed lips, she finally said, "I will do as you want, but after that you will give me my share and I will leave this house forever." "What share did you say?" Michael said calmly. "Have you never worked a day in your life? You've lived all your life, at my expense." He was a little silent and added, "However, I agree to work until September. And then I'll sign over to you one of the apartments in Moscow and give you money for the first time. That's all." His daughter looked at him unhappily, but this time she kept silent. The girl demanded the keys to my car. "You promised to give them to me if I agreed to your terms. You'll only have the car for traveling to work." Her father looked at her sternly. "You're a working man now, so you won't have time to go out. You will see your friends only on weekends. On other days, I want to see you at home after work." Miranda inked up with anger. She barely restrained herself and, throwing a meaningful glance at her father, jumped out of his office. "I hate you so much," screamed the girl into her pillow. "I wish I didn't have a father at all." She scattered her room in a rage. Everything on the table and pulled out her cell phone. "To work in the park?" Kate was surprised. "Miranda, it's great. It's so beautiful. And the air is clean." "Are you kidding me? My friend was mad at me." "Maybe you want to follow the guests, clean up?" "Yeah, no one does that there," laughed Kate. "They're in their natural environment. I think maybe they need to be fed in the winter. I also know that they get salt, and in the summer there might be some work. Like counting trees or watching the birds to make sure their nests don't get dragged." "Miranda, you're lucky." "I don't think so at all," she said grudgingly. "I can't go out now. I'm a working man from tomorrow. My father said I could only go out on weekends, but at least you're sleeping. It's okay. I was cheering up my friend Kate. You and your whiskey and Coke are gonna disappear. You don't have the measure for it." "You're right, whiskey is my weakness," she sighed. "And it makes me feel like I don't want to live. Maybe I should break up with her. I'm getting a little too addicted to it. You see how much you're getting out of this job. Pluses." Kate laughed. "Call me tomorrow night and let me know how your first day at work went." "You bet I will." Miranda laughed. "I'm boring you with my job now." Kate knew that Miranda was not a bad girl. How many times she had helped her friends out, with money, and never took it back. But principle and stubbornness was what made the girl suffer in the first place. Miranda herself thought that with age she could deal with it. But the years passed, and it continued to poison her. Kate understood all this and tried to help her friend in every possible way, but so far it hadn't worked out for her. They were still teenagers then. Everyone was sure that Miranda and William would start a serious relationship. But no matter how well the guy felt about the girl, he was a little afraid of her. He was intimidated by her recklessness and unpredictability. And such an unstable relationship could only hinder. Therefore, William did not even try to woo Miranda. She was just a friend to him. Ethan and Kathy from their company had been dating for several years, and Kate herself had liked Alex for a long time, and they were just trying to start a serious relationship. The next day, Miranda was woken up by the alarm clock. He had to call 3 times. Finally, the girl opened her eyes. It was already 8:30. "Oh shit," you scolded. "She didn't want me to be late on my first day yet." She dressed quickly and drank her tea on the go. The housekeeper slipped her a lunch bag and handed her a bundle. "What is this?" Miranda wondered. "It's from my father. Here are the keys to the car, money for pocket money." The woman replied calmly, "Michael asked me to give it to you in the morning." The girl grabbed the small bag and said nothing. She quickly took out her keys and got into the car. "Miranda," the housekeeper ran up to her. "Your father asked me to give you this as well." The girl didn't elaborate, threw her bag on the back seat and drove out of the gate. "Where should I park?" Miranda looked around. "Everything is already taken." She quickly glanced at the clock. It was 8:50 a.m. Finally, the girl spotted a small loophole and pulled her own in there. She dialed the number her father had given her yesterday. Miranda. "I have already arrived. Where should I go?" "Stay at the entrance. Here she will meet you now." The girl looked at what she had in the bag in the back seat. There was a homemade jacket and athletic pants. She stuffed the things back and threw her bag to it. "Who is Miranda?" She heard a man's voice. "It's me," shouted the girl and ran up to the man. "But hello, Miranda." The park director greeted her. "It's great to have such people working for us." "Thank you very much. So I'd like to offer you 2 directions. I'll let you decide for yourselves. What would you like to do?" "The first is to lead tour groups of children. Here you'll need to work with information, do some reading. And that young naturalist, you now yourself know what smart questions they know how to fall asleep." The second direction is connected with scientific work. Here you will need to help scientific staff to conduct an inventory of plants and animals to simply count them. You will have to monitor individual species, that is, observe them. You may also be asked to help research individual species. "Better the second one," quickly replied the girl. "I don't like children, so I don't know how to get along with them," she said honestly. "Good," smiled Rustam Rashida. "Now about the work schedule and salary. You will have to work from 9 to 6. You will have a 5-day week. The salary is about $500. $500. Miranda said in horror. "How can you live on that?" "I'm sorry, but we are a budget organization," the man replied calmly. "Temporary workers. People without special education can't expect more." "I agree," unhappily replied the girl. "Who can show me the front of my work? I'll send a man with you now. He will show you everything." The man finished and adjusted his glasses. A few minutes later, a man of about 60 years old entered the office. His blue eyes shone with goodwill. "Rick, it's for you." The director took his eyes off the papers. "The girl's name is Miranda. She will work for you for 2 months. You tell her everything and show her around." "I'm glad." Quickly shook Rick's hand. Rashida for the man. "Thank you. Nick is away for a week, and we need to count the birds now." The girl with the research assistant left the director's office. "We've had a mass bird mortality," with annoyance in his voice, said the man. "Okay, in particular, and some of the birds were badly affected. Somehow an infection got into the park. So we were picking up buckets of dead birds." "Does that happen a lot?" Miranda asked with interest. "It's very rare." He looked at her. "You know, nature itself is a regulating system, because in 1 year so many birds can breed that it leads to imbalance. And then a year or 2 later, something happens. Whether it's human error or deliberate on nature's part, the finch and the volga are beautiful birds. You'll notice them right away. We use everything for counting, photos, and accompanying votes. We can do nest counts too, but the latter is more difficult. A lot of birds have similar nests. The finch, for example, always has a deep nest, something like a bowl. He's a craftsman. And the oriole's nest looks like a little hanging basket. I'll show you later. We're going to be doing this on our own for 3 days. And when Nick gets back there, we'll have other things to do. We'll go back to our place. You get changed, and we'll start counting. Miranda didn't even think she'd have to count birds. She had her heart set on hard physical work. But this was so easy. She was even beginning to like being here, Miranda. You see, Rick pointed with his hand on the thick branch. There's a yellow bird sitting there. That's a tit. She's a bird. The songbirds often call her the wood flute. Here, listen. At first, she kind of quietly chirps and squeaks. And then, as if a flute played, the girl smiled beautifully. Yes, and she looks all right. If she were all yellow, she wouldn't look like that. And the black wings look like a costume. Shall we get started? Suggested the researcher. You go and look. Wherever you see it, take a picture. And then I'll take care of it myself. Miranda didn't notice how she was engrossed in her work. The girl was looking around carefully. She had never even realized that nature was so alluring. With her parents, they usually traveled to the seas. They had villas in Italy and Spain. But Miranda had no interest in history or nature. The only thing she liked was sports. Oh, what a beauty, she whispered when she saw a yellow bird on a branch nearby. It really sings amazingly. The girl took a lot of pictures. All the birds looked the same, so she thought she often took pictures of the same ones. About 1 o'clock, her phone rang. Miranda, let's go to lunch. Rick invited her over. We have both tea and sugar and candy. Miranda felt her stomach screaming. She headed for the research department. But how very tired are you? Her supervisor asked her thoughtfully. We have a lot of walking to do. Honestly, I was very negative, but now I like it, the girl admitted. I didn't even notice how quickly the time flew by. That's the beauty of it. Rick supported her. So immersed in the work that you forget about problems and illnesses, and the soul is so good. You'll love it. One bad thing. We don't pay very well. Yes, it doesn't matter to me, Miranda replied. My father sent me here for correctional labor, she laughed. And what have you done? The man said with interest. I came home late. If only that. She sighed. My parents and I have been at war for as long as I can remember. I grew up an orphan, Rick said sadly. All my life I dreamed of having a mother. So when my children were born, I was the happiest. I'm from Altai. I worked there for many years, and then came to Moscow to conquer. Yes, I got into a rut. Now I have an apartment here and a car. So I'm unlikely to return home. It went by quickly. First day on the job. And Miranda, tired but happy to be home. But how was work? In the evening, her father asked her, I hope you didn't get out of there too soon. Don't worry. His daughter looked at him angrily. I worked there all day. All right, sighed the father. Maybe you'll learn something in life. And what did you do today? He asked with interest. I was counting birds, she answered calmly. Counting birds. Father was surprised. Do you catch them there or put them in a cage? No, what do you mean? The girl laughed. We photograph them or hear them by the sound of the nest. I can't tell them apart yet. Miranda wanted to be rude to her parents, but she kept silent. She decided until the end of her contract not to say anything to them. The girl hoped to get the apartment and money from her father and start living her life. At 1 o'clock and 8, the phone rang. It was Kate. She couldn't believe Miranda was happy with her job. Did you really like it? She wondered. You mean you didn't start a scandal, didn't have a falling out with your superiors? Imagine that. No, I was very well behaved. Kate's friend laughed. I really liked it there. It's so quiet. The birds are singing and it's so peaceful. No one touches you. It's my first job ever, and I think I'm in love with it. Oh, you're so good, Miranda. Kate rejoiced. And I'm calling you, and I'm scared. I think we've heard so much from you. Why should my ears curl up? Are you not giving me any chances at all? Do I really look like a gorgon? Shocked, Miranda said. At times, frankly, yes. Shyly admitted her friend. You should make better friends after that, she sighed. They'll say things like that to your face. But the rest of the time, you're fine. With a ringing laugh, Kate. You only get a little crazy sometimes. That night, Miranda fell asleep without any dope. She didn't need a scandal with her father or a double shot of whiskey. But what are you ready for another day of work? Rick greeted his ward. We'll have a tougher job today. We finished the Volda yesterday. You finished the last square yesterday. Today we'll work on the countryman. Yesterday, when you photographed Volda, you must have noticed that the dogs are different from the males. They don't have such bright plumage. We could say that the female is grayish-yellow in the finch. The male is a real looker. Look, I'll show you a picture. This is a male. He's got a distinctive reddish-orange breast with a gray cap on his head. The back is also reddish and goes a little yellow in front of the tail. It's unassuming on its own. It's all gray. If it weren't for the striped pattern on the wings, it could be confused with a sparrow. Although finches are a little larger in size, so you'll be looking for the guys. I'll take the girls. They're harder to see. Probably at another time Miranda would have been very annoyed by such a story, akin to explaining it to a small child. But to her surprise, she was even happy that her leader was talking to her like that. The finch is also a songbird, Rick continued. Let's listen to him sing. You see, its singing is different from the oriole. The males also rattle a lot. That means you can hear a roo-like sound from him. You can hear it. Jesus, Miranda. You must be losing your mind. What the hell are finches? Swirling around in a girl's head. Well, why not? What's wrong with that? An argument brewing in her mind? So stop it, Miranda shouted to herself. This is my life. So I live it the way I want to live it. Right now I want finches. The girl took the map and went to inspect the area entrusted to her. Several hours passed when suddenly Miranda heard a rustling behind her back. She cautiously turned her head about 10 meters away from her. Settled in shock, the girl froze in place. The animal stopped and looked at her curiously. Miranda's breath caught, but the moose was not interested in her society. It pawed the grasses some more. Still scattering, the man with its gaze went deeper into the forest. Miranda said in amazement as he looked at me, I thought I was going to die of fright. Miranda. Oh, really? Rick laughed at lunchtime. They rarely attack humans, mostly only during the rut. And that's about 2 months away. And in this case, mostly people bother moose. Their hormones are playing. They poke them in the face with bread. And I already thought that I would not come back, laughed the girl. I wanted to call you and I was afraid to even move. I'll show you a tame moose later, the man offered. He's been living here for a long time. He's not afraid of people. I'll take you to him tonight. After lunch, Miranda went back to work. She had already finished a few squares. Now she had 2 more to check. By evening, she was very tired, but she decided to go and see the moose. Take a banana, the researcher asked, pointing to a chair. A background loves them. Despite popular belief, it is better not to give them bread and powerful moose. I've got an apple left over for his background. The girl remembered about her lunch. Apple? Smiled Rick. Moose like them too. They took the gifts and left the biostation. The animals were not far from here. They could migrate all the time, of course, but they mostly lived here. Aaron shouted to Rick as they approached the right place and over here. After a few minutes, a blue muzzle appeared out of the forest. The animal looked at the humans curiously. Finally, Aaron recognized the human and approached him. But Miranda, give him a banana, the man said. Stroking the animal, eat it like this. Aaron, good for you. The moose, nodding, ate the banana and he couldn't get enough. Then Miranda handed him a piece of apple. The moose became quite sad. He ate all his goodies almost instantly and looked questioningly at the humans. Aaron, enough conscience must be had. The researcher looked at him sternly. You're like the Moose King. Because Aaron's not afraid of people. Everyone here feeds him. Of course, mostly something harmful, but nevertheless, he quickly realized that you have to be friends with many people. He can even count, by the way, but only up to 3. Aaron, let's do the math. Tell us what 2 is. The male cocked his head up and shouted 2 times. Then he counted to 3, my clever girl. Stroked the head of the animal Stepan Yurovich. Tomorrow I'll bring you an even tastier one. Miranda drove home and smiled. Moose Aaron did not get out of her head. They taught the moose to count. The father looked at his daughter in amazement. How many do you think he can count to? Can he count to 3? The girl laughed. I stroked him today. My God, on the background, why? Michael smiled. Does he drink at them? But I have no such information. Through laughter, she said. But he's a good guy. Who? Moose was shocked. Looked at her father or the researcher. Aaron, of course, she replied. Rick hasn't been a guy for a long time. He's almost a grandfather, you might say, and she seems to like it there. Miranda was glad to see her mother, and it was the second day she hadn't gone to her outing. God, I wish she could do it. Miranda's not a bad girl, if it weren't for her stubborn nature. I'm so glad, too, my husband replied. You know, she hasn't talked to us like that for a long time, always through her teeth and complaining. We even had a nice dinner tonight. Miranda was in a very good mood. She picked up William's phone. Hi, she said excitedly. I have such a great friend at work, don't I? The guy was surprised. Do you need nerves of steel to be friends with you? He laughed. Come on, tell me. Did you find someone? I laughed. The girl's name is Aaron. He's amazing. God, what a name. William resented it. Is he from some backwoods village? No, he lives in the woods. Miranda laughed. There must be 18 of them. Some kind of forest people or something. Couldn't understand her friend Miranda. What are they? William, they're not people. They're moose. The girl joked at her friend. And Aaron is a moose. There was no doubt about it. Only Moose would be friends with someone like you, he laughed. We're in the wrong company. William, stop it. Miranda was offended. You don't want to be happy for your friend. Are you still picking on my new friends? No, I'm not. I don't mind. I'm even ready to meet them. He replied seriously. Where and when shall we meet? Tomorrow, in May lunchtime, suggested the girl. And is not late. Moose, guys are punctual. They won't forgive you for that. The next day, Miranda to work simply flew. She had another large quad to inspect. Unfortunately, male finches were scarce. Yes, the most of them had died. Rick sighed. It's a shame, of course. Can I show the photo to a friend today? He won't come empty-handed. Miranda smiled. But if he does, then he won't mind. The researcher laughed. Toward lunchtime, the girl's phone rang. William was waiting for her at the entrance. Miranda explained to him where to go. In about 40 minutes, he was outside the biostation. You prepared yourself in amazement, the girl said when she saw his huge bag. I think I bought everything you said. Bananas and apples, cabbage, carrots. Looked at her guy. Yeah, she scratched her head. You must have decided to feed all the moose around here. Let them eat. I'm not sorry, laughed William. But let's show them off. Good afternoon. Rick said behind his back. So I take it you are Miranda. Guessed I'm not a fan. He's just a fan. Miranda laughed. Look at all the food he's brought him. I'm afraid Aaron's gonna get diarrhea. We've got so many mouths out there, you'll see they won't leave a single peel. William posed among the elk like a model. He stood in front of them and looked out from the side. He even wanted to climb on them. But Rick said they were not accustomed to that. Anyway, Aaron was so happy that day that he learned to count to 4. But William, thank you so much, laughed the research assistant. This I say to you on behalf of them all, he said. Into the woods, from which curious faces were still sticking out. With hotels like this, we're ready to have you visit us every day. Aaron quite a while ago came out the last banana. Then he looked at William carefully and sniffed his head. I hope you won't eat me in gratitude. He was afraid. No, he won't, laughed the man. He just wants to memorize your scent. Now he won't mistake you for anyone else. You two are real friends. The boys were happy. They laughed loudly as they walked together to the exit. Miranda couldn't stay long. She had to get back to work. Miranda, did you see the way he looked at me when I told him 4? The guy was happy. He was surprised at first, and then he thought I wasn't stupid and started yelling 4 times. They're funny, the girl said. I never thought I'd be texting out of anger. But you have to go through everything in life sometime. Seriously, answered William and laughed. Okay, I'll see you this weekend. We all miss you a lot. The girl waved her hand at him and went back to work. She carefully searched out the red breast among the bushes and bushes. "But tomorrow Nick will be back," Rick said at the end of the day. "He's a good guy, quiet, hardworking. It's his second year with us. He wants to enroll in a correspondence course next year. Isn't he from around here?" Miranda asked with interest. "Miranda, who's from around here?" The man laughed. "If only the finch and the moose. We all used to be newcomers, but now we are full-fledged Muscovites." No sooner had Miranda reached home than her phone rang, and her friend's number popped up. "Miranda, are you and William in cahoots?" Offended, she asked. "You've got Moose somewhere, you're spending time together. Have you forgotten all about me?" "Kate, yes. He called me yesterday, and I told him about my job," her friend replied tiredly. "He wanted to sponsor a luncheon for the Moose. So we went with him. Yeah, he brought almost a whole bag of bananas. Not only Moose, but the whole bio station was there." "All right, well, that was fun, Kate. I hope you're coming to Denver with us on Saturday." "Kate, I honestly don't know." "I'm so tired right now," replied Miranda. "Miranda, is that really you?" "Shocked," said the girl. "Have you been switched? Are you still hesitating about going or not? You're not sick. Come on, angry friend. I'm up early all day long. It's natural. I'd say it's natural for anyone but you." Kate laughed. "Tell me you don't want to go out with your favorite whiskey." "Kate, you may not believe me, but I don't want to," she replied shortly. Miranda realized that something was happening to her, and it wasn't about her work. It was just that she had been thrown out of her usual rut, and she was able to look at herself from the outside. And what she saw she didn't quite like. "How could anyone be so stupid?" she thought. "I almost killed myself in that race. Okay, so my parents aren't perfect, but what am I? Am I better than them? Arrogant, crazy idiots." For the first time in her life, Miranda was unhappy with herself. Perhaps she had simply grown up over the past few days. The girl began to value not only other people's lives, but her own as well. "Miranda, you've already done a week's work." The next day her father told her, "How did you like the job? If you want, I can talk to the director." "Is he looking for an easier job for you?" "No, he's not," the daughter answered calmly. "Everything suits me fine. The forest and the birds calm me down. And I like being alone. There's another employee back, so we can work twice as fast now." The father looked at his daughter carefully. He and her mother, of course, dreamed of Miranda settling down a little. But there had been a real change in the girl. She was very different. "Mike, Miranda's always been like this," Kelly said. When they went to bed, "It's just that she'd been fighting with herself the whole time, not only with us, but with herself. And she's always been a good girl at heart. I don't even know what." With surprise, said the husband. "I just do not recognize her. I'm even a little scared. Maybe it's just self-deception. And tomorrow everything will be back. Then at least we will know that Miranda could be different," the woman sighed. "It's already a victory to know that our daughter isn't as bad as we thought she was all along." "You're probably right." Her husband encouraged her. "Now we know it's possible." To the surprise of her friends and parents, Miranda did not go to Denver. She stayed at home and did not leave her room for 2 days. The girl wanted to be alone. "Miranda, Nick, today I will ask you to work together," Rick said on Monday. "Do you need to look at trees? Start with this square here. I don't think you'll have any trouble with the birch trees. I will give you some paint and you will place all the dry trees. Please put on your aprons or you'll ruin your clothes. Let's go in the back. Let's get brushes and gloves." The researcher and his charges went into the storage room. "But when you come for lunch, we'll talk," the man said and gave the boys a cheerful look. Miranda had seen Nick for the first time on Friday, but the guy did not arouse any special interest in her. He couldn't be called handsome by youthful standards, but when he smiled, his face was so transformed that he could easily be mistaken for a Hollywood starlet. "Miranda, you check the edges, and I'll go deeper," he suggested. "If you get tired and want to rest, shout so I don't get too far ahead. I will whistle to you." The girl laughed and quickly put 2 fingers in her mouth and let out a loud whistle. "Oh, wow," Nick laughed. "That's a finch. They taught you that." The girl laughed and answered him nothing. Miranda wandered among the trees, looking at the trunks. Rick showed her the signs of a dead tree. Did many no longer have bark, or had it partially fallen off? Miranda sank into her thoughts. She didn't notice how many hours had passed, when suddenly she heard someone whistling, Nick waving at her from afar. The girl looked around to memorize where she had stopped. She tied a red bag to one trunk and walked towards her companion. "Miranda, look," the boy said quietly, careful not to spook her. They carefully watched the gray bird, which had a black cap on its head. "Her name is Miranda. On account of its black head, this species is called Miranda the Black-capped. She's a member of the sparrowhawks. And she sings well. Let's stand still for a while. Maybe she'll sing to us too." The guys stood holding their breath. The bird calmed down a little and came out with a sonorous, gentle singing. "Wow," the girl couldn't stand it. "I thought that everyone from the bench can only yell and scandalize," she laughed. "Do you underestimate yourself?" Nick looked at her seriously. "You just don't know yourself." The girl looked at him carefully for the first time in her life. Someone had told her that she was much better than she was. Miranda was so struck by the guy's words that for the next few days she spent all her time thinking about what he had told her. Another work week was coming to an end. The guys were finishing up their work with finding dead and diseased birch trees. Miranda saw Nick sitting in a tree in the distance. She approached him curiously. The guy didn't see her. "Did you draw this in amazement?" she asked, seeing him looking at some drawing. "I'm just dabbling," Nick laughed. "I sketch here and add color at home with colored pencils. You can look at it." The girl couldn't help herself. "If you don't mind." The guy was very embarrassed and hesitantly handed her a small notebook. Miranda flipped through the pages. There were birds, trees, moose. She thought the drawings looked very realistic. A finch. Volga. Miranda laughed. "And this is me." She looked questioningly at the boy. "Very beautiful girl." He was stunned with shock. On a small leaf was her portrait, drawn with bright colored pencils. It was unparalleled. "I just blushed, Nick." "I think you have a very suitable face for sketches," he justified himself. Suddenly Miranda's phone rang. She saw William's number and picked it up. "Miranda, I've got this thing going on. A quick 3-body friend. Anyway, I'm waiting for you at the bio station." "We still have half an hour to work," Miranda answered. "Okay, Rick, if you want to go to his place." "Okay, let's get to work," said Miranda and walked towards her station. After a few meters, she stopped and looked towards Nick. "Nick, thank you for seeing me like this," she said and disappeared among the trees. Miranda and Nicholas were already approaching the bio station. When they were outside, they noticed a guy waving his hands and telling their leader something enthusiastically. "William, hello," Miranda said cheerfully. "What's bothering you?" She laughed. "Aha," he laughed. "I'll show you what I have in mind." "William, let's get acquainted." The girl caught on. "This is my colleague Nick. Nice to meet you." William shook the guy's hand. "And I'm Miranda's 100-year-old friend and part-time Aaron fan." "If you only knew what William came up with." Rick laughed. "Anyway, listen," spoke the guy quickly. "Aaron, now a star. He's a real blogger." He was flipping through the pictures on his phone. "Here he is in Mexico. Look at the hat I photoshopped on him. Here he is in France drinking wine, and here's our friend in Cuba. See the cigar he's got." Nick and Miranda were just laughing. The pictures were so funny, and the face of the moose without all the trimmings was funny. "Aaron has his own checking account now, so he's raising money for the trip," William continued. "I've already told Rick that the moose will be traveling around the world this year. So they're already giving us money for it." "William, you're crazy," through your laughter, said Miranda. "If people really start sending money, that's what I've arranged it for," the guy replied. "I've already talked to the park director. He's fine with it. I'll transfer all the money for its maintenance. Let the moose won't be hungry this winter. And we need to buy some transportation for employees, such as a golf cart. It's a long way from one side of town to the other. It's half the day. I didn't realize you were such a nature lover. My friend's jealous. But you're not the only one who can change. Maybe I want to," he smiled. "I'm sick of all these nightclubs." William made a splash with his Aaron project in the national park, and his father didn't mind. The boy's parents weren't bad people, but even they were tired of his constant antics and friends. Miranda was on her way home. On the one hand, she was in a very good mood. William on the ideas she liked very much. On the other hand, the girl realized that these 2 days she would miss Nick. What could this simple country boy do to her? Miranda did not understand. He was not particularly talkative. No energy in the evenings. All sorts of fancy things didn't interest him either. But in him, she sensed what she had been looking for so long in the guy. There was no pretense. It was just the way he was. It just amazed Miranda. The girl had spent her whole life trying to hide her vulnerability and insecurity. She had to play all the time. And Nick was not interested in other people's opinions. The guy didn't try to please anyone. He was just expressing himself and his opinion. Miranda was both inspired and intimidated by this. The girl had worn a mask on her face for so many years that she was afraid that when she dropped it, she would just be laughed at. That was her greatest fear. William would be sponsored by the Elks. In amazement at dinner, the father asked his daughter, "Here, I didn't think that especially you two would like all this. You should see the pictures he took of Aaron. They're hilarious." Miranda laughed. "Even just for the fun of it, $1 will transfer. No shame. Miranda, I'm very happy for you." With love looked at his daughter father. "I think your mother and I underestimated you." "I underestimated myself as an adult," the girl replied. "I don't want to be the same fool I used to be." Miranda left the table and went to her room. Her parents looked at her in bewilderment. "What's going on with her?" Concerned. Asked the mother. "Maybe she's growing up." "I think so," sighed the father. "She's growing from a rebel to a beautiful girl, and we need to support her in that." "Maybe she'll want to get married after a while," said the mother. "I think you should talk to William's parents. We planned their union years ago, so maybe it's time for that." "Yes, and I called William," Michael replied. "I think he will be very happy about it." Miranda and William's parents had known each other for a long time. They had met from time to time about 5 years ago. The heads of the family had decided that when their children grew up, they would have a direct wedding. No one told William and Miranda about it. But over the years, they had heard constant hints from their parents. Father William and Michael decided not to rush them. "I think they'll be able to talk to them in about 27 years. The boy's father decided. "Right now, they're not ready for family life. Let them grow up a little, because with his and her character, they will not only rub our nerves, but also drive us to the grave." "I totally agree with you. We should wait." Michael supported his friend. "Or Miranda will make such a mess here. We'll never be able to pay you back." This conversation took place a year ago. That was the deal. Miranda lay on her bed. She closed her eyes and dreamed. She saw her and Nick walking through the woods. They were holding hands, happy, looking into each other's eyes. The couple stopped near one old oak tree. Miranda saw Nick lean toward her and wanted to kiss her. Suddenly, there was a knock on her door. Miranda shuddered. "Is that you?" she asked. "Come in. How are you, Miranda?" Michael smiled. "Do you want to go for a walk?" "No, I'd rather stay home," she answered calmly. "I don't want to see anyone. Not even William," Dad said. "He hasn't visited us for a long time. What's William got to do with it?" The girl didn't understand. "Ophi and I are busy right now. Maybe we can get together with the guys this weekend." "Miranda," the father began gently, "you and William would make a good couple. What are you doing?" She was surprised. "Yes, William and I have always been, and will always be just friends." "Miranda, why?" "He's a good guy." Dad objected, "and his parents are wealthy too." "You want me to sell myself evil for money?" My daughter told him. "Daddy would never do that." "Okay, I guess it's not time to be upset yet," replied the father. "We'll talk about it later." "Not time for what?" Anna asked with interest. "What do you want me to, William, yours?" "Miranda, the time will come and you will have to get married anyway." Coldly, the man said. "William is the most suitable candidate for this. Don't even dream about it," screamed the girl. "This is my life, and I'm the only one who can control it. That's it, leave me alone. I was just beginning to think that I had normal parents, and you ruined everything again." In a rage, she screamed. Get out of my room. Miranda was in no mood for almost 2 days. She was looking forward to going to work again. Finally, Monday came, and the girl went to the park from early morning. Nick, hi. She greeted her partner cheerfully. How are you doing? How are you doing this weekend? Hello, Miranda. The guy smiled. I didn't really rest. I usually work on weekends. You can't live on one paycheck, so I need a part-time job. What do you do? Miranda was surprised. Do you work here in the park? No, he answered. I'm a longshoreman on call. Some people need to move things. Some people need to bring goods to the store. Anyway, there's always enough work. Nick, you're very good at drawing. The girl looked into the guy's eyes. Maybe you should try your hand at it. Oh, really? He laughed. The guys here are professionals. They can't find work. It's not like I'm a beginner. And art materials are very expensive. I've been saving for professional pencils for almost a year, but I can't afford them yet. What kind of pencils do you need? Miranda asked curiously. Do you want a Faber for the table or something from the professional line? Sighed he, not depending on the number of colors can cost up to $1,000. Just with professional pencils, the quality of drawing improves tenfold. Don't worry, someday you will have such pencils. Miranda was cheering the kid on. This week, they were starting an interesting job. They needed to measure the height of certain plant species and the leaves of some specimens. Well, I think the two of you can do it. Rick, Miranda, I think it's pretty clear here. You or Nick will fill in the boxes on the chart and write down the measurements. Here are some tools for measuring leaves. We have been watching these plants for several years now, so we care about every millimeter. Nick will teach you how to work with the tile grid. It accounts for every millimeter. That's why we get accurate data. This day could be called the best day of Miranda's life. She and Nick were so interested in measuring the plants and the leaves on them that they simply forgot about time. They laughed a lot and enjoyed each other's company. Nick, come here, waved Miranda's hand. Look at this bug, it's a deer. The guy put the insect on his palm. See how it has horns? It's not dangerous to humans. Just be careful when you stroke its horns. They're sharp, they can cut you. Wait a few minutes. Nick took out his notebook and started sketching something. On the sheet quickly appeared the outline of a tree on which the beetle was crawling. I'll draw the rest at home in a few minutes, he said and closed his notebook. Nick, how long have you been drawing? The girl looked at him curiously. Yes, as long as I can remember. He smiled. Unfortunately, my parents didn't have the opportunity to send me to art school, so I was self-taught. At home, we had everything from painted wallpaper, newspapers, and even an old sofa. Nick, are you really good at drawing? Miranda said. I don't have any talent. I never liked anything but speed. That's why I used to race cars. Now I realize there's no point, so I'm a total talentless. No, you're not. Nick stood up and looked her straight in the eye. It's just that you have a very sensitive and vulnerable soul. That's why you cover it up with your fighting. You're very beautiful inside, Miranda, the guy said and stroked her hair with his hand. The girl couldn't move. Everything inside her was bubbly with happiness. She couldn't take her eyes off the guy. Well, let's continue, Nick finally said. Let's finish this plant and go back. It was almost 5 o'clock in the morning and Miranda was making her way back to the biostation. Her hands were laboring and she couldn't hide it. Miranda, are you okay? Rick asked her, seeing the girl's pale face. I'm fine, she barely said. It's just that Nick and I have been working hard today. Miranda took her things and Nick was waiting for her on the way out. He was very embarrassed. Miranda, why don't we go to a cafe if you're not busy? Finally, he said. I agree, the girl replied cheerfully. Would you mind my car? Miranda, can we walk here? Quietly said the boy. Sure, okay, she smiled. Then it would be better. Miranda realized that Nick didn't have as many opportunities as William did. But she didn't want to offend the guy either. The girl ordered a simple brownie and green tea. Miranda, maybe something more serious. You're hungry. Begrudgingly, she looked at him. I have money. Don't worry. Cole, thank you very much. But I really don't want it, she replied fondly. So what's the occasion today, honestly? It's my birthday today. Nick blushed. I really wanted to celebrate it with you, and my dream has come true. Why didn't you tell me? Miranda said angrily. I would have prepared a present for you. Miranda, is the fact that we are here your best present? He replied, Thank you for agreeing. The young people talked for a couple of hours. Miranda and Nick had never had such a good time in their lives. Nick promised me one thing playfully. The girl looked at him. You will accept a present from me tomorrow. Miranda, I don't want anything. Thank you, the guy grimaced. I'm happy with what I have today. But I'm begging you. She looked at him again. I want to feel happy that I did something for you too. You think that will make you happy? He was surprised. Yes, Miranda replied briefly. Nick, I've never met a guy like you. They left the cafe, and Nick went towards the subway. The girl waved goodbye to him and got into the car. God, I fell in love for the first time in my life, she said, laughing. What kind of happiness is that? On the way, Miranda's cell phone rang. William's number came up. Miranda, I have some ideas. I want to discuss them with you in a businesslike manner, he said. Are you home yet? No, I've been invited to a cafe tonight. William laughed. I'm so happy. You don't get it. The guy was surprised. Did I miss something? Didn't Aaron set you up on a date? Did he? He laughed. Because with his popularity, any girl would go to the cafe with him. I don't go to cafes with my neighbors. Miranda laughed. Nick invited me. It's his birthday today. Miranda's friend said it all suspiciously with a sneer. Are you in love? Why wouldn't I be? She said, offended. Don't you think I'm human at all? No, it's just strange to hear you say that, William replied. You're more of a boy than a girl to me. Thanks, man. Miranda laughed. Don't you even think I'm a girl? I wouldn't even think of it. Miranda was in love. It's a miracle, isn't it? The guy mocked the girl. No, don't think anything bad. I'm very happy for you. But I can't even imagine what you'll do with your husband on your wedding night. You kill him after the first kiss. I promise I'll keep my cool, Miranda laughed. And if you still have doubts, be sure that it's not me, but him who will carry me in his arms. Does Nick know you're in love with him? William asked curiously. Or will you suffer from unrequited love for the rest of your life? But you'll never admit it to him. William, I think he likes me too, she sighed. He's even drawn portraits of me. But after that, you have to get married, the boy laughed. After that, you can't say no to him. Yes, Miranda took offense at you. I'm being serious with you, and you're making fun of me. Girlfriend, I'm all for it. He said it. I'll be the first to wish you happiness. William, with Miranda, finished talking, and the girl finally reached the big store. I need the largest set of the best professional colored pencils and a few different drawing albums. After a few minutes, she was shown many different options. The girl looked at them carefully, 72 colors. She read through more albums and sketchbooks in different formats. And could you please package it all beautifully? Thank you. Miranda Happy was on her way home. She couldn't wait to give a present to Nick tomorrow. Nick the next day said she would please accept, and me this from the bottom of my heart. The guy hesitantly reached out his hand and took the big package. He set it to the side. Cole, at least take a look. Maybe you won't like it, impatiently uttered the girl. The guy carefully forged a gift, his eyes rounded. He couldn't say anything for a few minutes. Miranda, but it's so expensive. I just can't accept it. Nick protested. You said you wanted to make me happy, didn't you? She looked carefully into his eyes. It's my happiness to see you happy. The girl turned around and walked out of the station. That day, Nick tried not to meet Miranda again. He tried to avoid her. In the evening, the guy at work was a little late, and so the girl left the park alone. Maybe I hurt him with that gift, Miranda fed herself. Maybe I hurt his manhood. Maybe he won't forgive me for that. The next day, the girl and earlier started work was already about 11 o'clock. When Nick approached her, Miranda, we can talk not boldly, he said. Please understand me. I'm very grateful to you, but Nick, I love you, Miranda said suddenly. The guy didn't know what to do. He closed his eyes for a while. Then Nick quickly walked up to the girl and kissed her. And I you too, Miranda, he pressed the girl against his chest. I really need you, I can't do without you. Miranda never thought that she could experience such deep feelings. It could be said that this day had finally changed her, and scandalous, uncontrollable, by the boys, a sensitive girl was born. Miranda had encountered her for the first time, and the girl liked her. She was no longer afraid to be herself. Nick and Miranda had been dating for a month. The summer was coming to an end. Every day after work, they spent together. Words I can't say. One day a guy said, "I love you very much, and I want us to be together forever. You will be my wife." The girl stood there in complete shock. She could not say anything. Tears of joy were running down her cheeks. "But of course I will," she shouted and kissed Nick. "Nick, I will always love only you." "Then I will ask my parents to talk to your father," the boy said seriously. "I want things to be fair between us." "Okay," Miranda replied cheerfully. "But I won't tell my parents anything. Let it be a surprise for them." Nick went home to the village for the weekend. There he and his father had a serious talk. "Nick, son, of course I don't mind," replied the son's father. "But they're city people, aren't they? Are you sure this girl really loves you? Maybe she just wants to get back at her parents and is using you for that." "Hop Miranda is a very sincere girl," Nick objected. "She can't lie, that's for sure. She has a bit of a temper, but that doesn't scare me." "All right, kid, you're an adult. You're gonna be 25 next year," says James. "That's why it's up to you." Nick's parents were supposed to come to Miranda's house on Tuesday. When they were at work, the boys decided not to bother them, so that the adults could talk things over without them. It was around 11 when James and Anna approached the large, luxurious house. "Wow, they have a real castle," Nick's mother said in amazement. "How can we compete with them?" Anna sighed. "Anna, not all rich bandits can these good people." Her husband spoke up. The man pressed the bell. A woman's voice answered. "We're here to see Michael about Miranda." He answered briefly. The woman didn't answer for a long time. She must have been asking someone for something. 5 minutes later, the gate opened. "Jesus, what have I done again? This is not a bearable girl." Grandpa's father grumbled angrily. "I already hoped that nothing like this would not happen again." The guests were met by a man in the courtyard. He asked them to follow him. "Who are all these people?" Anna whispered in her husband's ear. "Which one is he?" The stranger led the man and the woman into the living room and asked them to wait for a while. "Hello," a tall man said behind their back. "I am Miranda's father, Michael." "What has my daughter done again?" "My name is James. I'm Nick's father." The visitor started from afar. "I'm sorry, but I don't recall that," the landlord said in bewilderment. "Did your son and Miranda go to school together?" "No," he smiled. "They work together in the national park." "Wow, how do they live?" Anna admired the furnishings of the hotel. "How could they have so much money?" Anna thought. "You understand, Nick and Miranda love each other indecisively," said the man. "And Nick sent us to talk to you about his serious intentions." "Shocked about what?" Michael said. "You must be confused. We are wealthy people. Miranda's future has long been determined. In 3 years' time, she will marry the son of a very rich man." The man looked at him in amazement. He hadn't been prepared for such a development. "But Nick and Miranda have been dating for over a month," James replied. "Our children have pure, unselfish love. They don't love each other for money. What do you think you're doing?" Miranda's father looked at him sternly. "What do you know about life? From the way you look, you can't make ends meet. And you want me to give up my daughter for your son? Do you really think money can buy everything?" Nick's father was angry. "Our children love each other, and they will definitely be together. Who are you to tell me what to do?" The landlord shouted angrily. "Miranda, my daughter, and I don't care what you want." "You are being very mean," replied the guest. "You're just selling your daughter for money. You never loved her. You don't even know what parental love is. Yeah, get out of here." At the top of his voice, Michael shouted, "Go back to your village and pick your own dung. That's where you belong. You bastard, you're gonna teach me about life. I've made more money in my life than you could ever dream of. You can't buy honor for money." The man replied calmly, "Don't you have it? Money didn't help. You can't buy dignity or love." "Well, that's too much." Came flying out of the living room, master. "I'll show you." The man ran into the kitchens, grabbed the first thing that came into his hands. He threw the water from the potato peelings at the guest with all his might. "You've been living in your own shit your whole life, and you're going to stay in it," shouted Michael. "Get them out of here, and don't ever let them in here again." A heavy-set man ran into the hallway and started shoving them with all his might. "We'll never be here again, rest assured." In parting words, said James, "To do business with the likes of you is to lose your dignity. Get out." The landlord lunged at the man, but the guard stopped him just in time. "You and all your brats are nothing. Let's get out of here, Mother." Nick's father took his wife by the hand. "This man is impossible to talk to." Miranda Happy was on her way home. She dreamed of how she would be greeted. Her father will give her a big hug and tell her when she and Nick will have their wedding. The girl quickly got out of the car, ran into the house. Miranda's father was waiting for her in the living room. "What is the meaning of all this?" He looked at her sternly. Who were these people? Dad, Nick's parents were coming. Joyfully, she approached her father. "I love him so much. I'll be happy with him." "Miranda, are you out of your mind?" Michael looked at her angrily. "Did you really think I would agree to this? What are you doing?" Her daughter looked at him angrily. "I love Nick. I'm going to marry him." "What's wrong with that?" All in anger, shouted the man. "Do you think I'm going to give you a rip-off for that? Miranda, look at him. Nick is the best guy I've ever seen," shouted the girl. "And I don't care what you think at all. Miranda, I've put up with a lot, but this will never happen," angrily replied the father. "You'll heed my word. Tomorrow this Nick will be found dead in the woods somewhere." "What are you?" "Are you an idiot?" screamed the girl. "What kind of bastard are you? I hate you. Remember, it will never be your way." Miranda quickly ran out of the house and got into the car. She drove at speed. The girl didn't know what to do. After about 20 minutes, she walked into a familiar bar with tearful eyes. "A triple whiskey," she shouted to the waiter and sat down at the table. "You're a real bitch. Let Nick just lay a finger on you. I'll run away from you anyway." Miranda felt better after the whiskey. She sat in the bar a little longer and went outside. The girl jumped into her car again and pressed the gas. She pulled out her cell phone and dialed some number. "William. He promised that Nick would kill me if I married him." She sobbed. "What kind of scum is he really? I hate him." "Miranda, are you talking about Dad?" There was a worried voice. "Miranda, where are you? I'm never coming home again," she yelled into the phone. "William is the only Nick I love. I don't need anyone but him. I'll die without him." The girl sobbed. "Miranda, calm down." I tried not to raise my voice. "Boy, tell me where you are. Where are you going now?" "I from our highway turned through tears," she said. "I hate them both, my mother and father. I wish to hell I'd lost them." "That's okay, we'll see about that," shouted Miranda and added speed. "Miranda, please stop me on the side of the road. Wait, I'm on my way to you." "Concerned," said a friend. "Come on, wait for me. I'll be right there. I'll never forgive him for this," Miranda shouted at the top of her voice. William heard Miranda add speed. He realized that the girl might not be able to control the car. Suddenly, there was a hard bang and the sound of the car spinning in the air. "Miranda, no," shouted William into the phone. "Miranda, answer it." The boy sobbed. But then there was another bang and the phone went dead. "Miranda, it's through the tears," the boy begged. After a few minutes, he seemed to come to his senses and quickly dialed another number. "The ambulance has had an accident," he shouted into the receiver. "A girl on the highway has crashed her red Mazda. Please come right away. Save her." William hung up the phone and had no time to wipe away his tears. Half an hour later, he was on the scene. He ran out of the car. In front of him, Miranda was being carried into the car on a stretcher under a white sheet. "She's alive," sobbed the guy. "Please tell me what's wrong with her." "She's alive, but it's hard to say if the girl can survive." Some doctor answered him. "Miranda, no," William screamed, and knelt down and clutched his head. "What have you done?" After a while, the guy came to his senses. He saw 20 meters from the curb, a wrecked car. Michael dialed William, the girl's father's number. "Miranda crashed. No one can give a prognosis. She may not survive. It has been almost a year since Miranda crashed. William walked into her house with flowers. "Hello, William. Come on in," Michael said cheerfully. As always, the boy went up to the second floor and knocked on Miranda's door. A soft voice was heard and he entered. "Hi, Miranda." He held out a huge bouquet of huge roses. "How are you?" The girl rode the wheelchair up to the bed and put the flowers down. She tried to smile. "I haven't changed a bit." "William," she answered calmly. "I'm still sitting in the wheelchair." "Miranda, stop feeling sorry for yourself," my friend was angry. "Let's go somewhere. I'll drive you." "Do you want everyone to look at me with pity?" She looked at him angrily. "No, I can't take it. I don't want to see anyone." "Miranda, but you can't be belittling like that either," he said. "You're only 22. You still have a life to live." "William, that day in that accident I died through tears," she said. "Nick died with me and my dreams for our future. I love him. Do you understand that?" "I understand one thing, that because of your stubbornness, you're out of your depth," William sighed. "Do you want me to find Nick?" "No," screamed the girl. "Why would he want an invalid? I don't want to ruin his life. Miranda, and if he still loves you too, he doesn't need anyone else." Her friend looked at her. "You haven't thought about that. I want him to have a normal family and be happy." Tears ran down Miranda's cheeks. All right, William said calmly and looked at his watch. "I have to leave you today, but I'll come to see you one day. I'll definitely take you out." The guy said goodbye to Miranda's parents and drove to the park. Half an hour later, he was already there. "Rick, hi." He shook hands with the researcher. "I need to talk to you." "Hi, William," the man replied. "But come on in, just in time to tell you all about it." Almost 4 hours the guy was on the road. He used the navigator to find the place he needed. "Turn right," an electronic voice said. "In 300 meters will be the village." William drove into the village and pulled up to a small house. In the yard, near a haystack, some guy was digging. William was surprised to see a stranger near the yard. "Nick, hello," he answered cheerfully. "Honestly, I thought you lived closer." "William, come in." The owner ran up to him and opened the gate. "I'm so glad to see you." "How Miranda was talking," he said. "That's why I came to see you," said the boy and entered the yard. "Miranda is doing well. At least she survived. She's in a wheelchair. I went to see her at the hospital 3 times, but her father kicked me out," the guy said with annoyance in his voice. "The last time some jock came up to me and smashed my face in his name." "Nick, that's all in the past." William patted him on the shoulder. "You know how her dad's killing himself over that. He can't forgive himself. Miranda hasn't spoken to him since the accident." "William, I want to see her so badly. If you knew how much I've been worried about this whole time." Nick cried. "I can't live without Miranda. I even slit my wrists. It's okay. Everything will be fine now," William said mysteriously. "That's why I came to you. Nick, I have a job to offer you." The boy looked at him in surprise, but didn't say anything. He was still in shock at what had happened to Miranda. The guys talked for about an hour, and William went home satisfied. "But Miranda is my battle buddy." He was glad he was happy. "And there'll be a holiday on your street soon. I won't let you suffer anymore." It was about 10 o'clock, but William stopped by Miranda's parents' house. "Michael, we need to have an adult conversation," he said. "It's going to be a serious conversation." He looked at Olga Petrovna. The woman understood everything and left the hotel. For both of them, it was a very difficult conversation. But the guy did not loosen his grip. "All right," finally said the master of the house. "For Miranda's sake, I'll do anything. I will do it. I'll do anything." As you said, the next day in the morning, Miranda's father knocked on the door. He didn't wait for an answer and went into her room. The girl was looking out of the window and showed with all her appearance that she didn't want to see him. "Miranda, I would like to talk to you," Michael began. "It's all my fault, and I know it. Father Nick truthfully said that I had no honor or dignity. I just wanted to sell you for more money. Miranda, I'm sorry. I am so sorry for being so blind and not letting you and Nick be together. I've been living with the weight of that guilt for almost a year now. Too late." Angrily, her daughter looked at him and turned her back to the wall. Go away. I don't want to see you." Michael stood still for a while and left her room. He went into his office and covered his face with his hands. Tears flowed continuously from his eyes, and he had no time to wipe them away. William was not able to visit Miranda until 2 weeks later. All this time he had business to attend to. Miranda ran him into her room. "Get ready. We should be leaving in half an hour." "Where?" In surprise, she asked William. "What do you have in mind?" "I want to take my very good friend to my work," he said proudly. "Miranda, I have my own firm now." "Yes," the girl opened her mouth in surprise. "You didn't tell me anything about it. And the guys didn't say anything either. I wanted to surprise you. Besides, I've been very busy with my project." William answered, "Are you going to go like this? Or do you want to change your clothes?" "William, thank you so much. But I don't want to." Miranda looked at him pleadingly with 7 eyes. "So we'll go like this." Grabbed the guy her stroller and carefully left the room of the girl William. I, in my housecoat, objected. "Get me someone. I changed my clothes." 20 minutes later, the guard carefully put Miranda in the back seat with William and shoved the wheelchair in the trunk. "Michael, don't worry, we'll be right back," waved his father's hand to the girl as he looked at him puzzled. Miranda was worried a lot. Since the accident, she had never been out anywhere. Even the doctor had only come to her house. "Here we are," William said cheerfully. "You'll recognize your hometown." "William, we've come to the park," the girl said excitedly. "Do you work here now?" "Yes," he answered proudly. "I'll show you around. Bear with me for a while." The guy took the word on his arm and put her in the wheelchair. The girl was greatly embarrassed. Past memories came over her at once. "So this is my office," brought a familiar building under his arm. "My father sponsored me. Now I have my own company to make national park souvenir promotions. The director allowed me to rent 1 room at the bio station. So a month ago, I launched my new project. Naturally, the symbol of our company became our old acquaintance Aaron," laughed Miranda. "You haven't forgotten that moose, and will you forget him? He is a gold mine." Her friend supported her with laughter. "Well, let's go and get acquainted with my employees. But you know Rick, he's my part-time counselor. Miranda, am I glad to see you?" The ex-boss hugged the girl. "Hurry up and get up. Come and join us. My dear girl, we are waiting for you." Miranda's breath caught and tears flowed. She was very happy to see old friends. "Now I want you to meet my artist." Nick winked at her. "Come here." Miranda was stunned. She wanted to get up and run away, but she couldn't. "Hello, Miranda. How are you?" The artist said cheerfully. "I'm very happy to see you again." Nick is doing the artwork. William patted the boy on the shoulder. "You should see his postcards. And keep the t-shirts. Look at this." William quickly picked up some souvenirs from the table. Miranda looked at the postcards in fascination. "You wanted me to draw with tenderness." Nick looked at her. "These are all drawn with your pencils." "Thank you. I'm sorry, but I'll have to leave you alone for a while," said William with annoyance in his voice. And while Miranda was about to say something, he ran out of the office. At the same time, an expensive car pulled up to the small village house. "Shall I come with you?" Michael asked his wife. "No, I have to do it myself," he said dryly. "Kelly, you wait for me here." He didn't dare get out of the car and knocked on the wicket. A few minutes later, a familiar man appeared on the porch. "Michael, hello," said James. "Are you here on business or just for fun?" "Please, I can talk to you," the man said and lowered his eyes shamefully. "Well, if it's business, come in." The owner led the guest into the house. Anna appeared at the door. The woman was angry. It was obvious she had something to say. "That after your daughter became an invalid and no one needs her, you remembered our son evil," hissed she mother. "Please go." Her husband looked at the woman sternly. "We'd like to have a man-to-man talk. You should catch him in the neck." The woman shouted angrily and left the room. "James, I won't rant too much." The guest looked at him. "I fully admit my guilt. I had no honor or dignity. Therefore, I ruined my daughter's life. Please forgive me for the insult and for humiliating Nick. I was blind and could not realize that Miranda only loves your son." James was silent for a long time. Then he got up from the table and approached his guest. Well, as they say, he who remembers the past is the one who gets the eye. The man looked intently into Michael's eyes. You can only be friends with a man who is able to recognize his mistakes. He extended his hand to the guest. Thank you. Miranda's father shook his host's hand vigorously. I will never forget this. Miranda, there your father has arrived. A girl walked into the office of the research assistant. Kate, thank you. Miranda smiled and carefully took her crutch from the chair. After the girl had seen Nick again, she had a renewed desire for life. For almost 8 months, she had been recuperating overseas. Her father paid for her treatment, and she started walking again. But due to multiple surgery injuries, Miranda had one leg shorter than the other, so she constantly needed a crutch. After her recovery, she returned to the national park again. She studied a lot and was eventually hired as a research assistant. The girl was fascinated by birds, especially songbirds. She couldn't live without her favorite park anymore. Miranda walked outside. There was a van outside the biostation, and her father's car was parked next to it. Daddy, what is that? Miranda asked in surprise. This is for us, Miranda. Finally, Nick was soon brought in. Her father ran up to her. Because it is not very comfortable for you to walk. Now all the research assistants will have a comfortable ride. Dad, thank you. Kissed his daughter. It's true, it will be a good help for us. Daughter, I'm so glad you're back to life, her father hugged her. I'm sorry for everything. I forgave you a long time ago. The girl looked at her father. You need to forgive yourself, and you still cannot do it. Besides, Michael looked at her with surprise. Besides, you're going to be a grandfather soon. Miranda laughed. So stop beating yourself up. Miranda, are you pregnant? Dad was happy. God, I didn't even believe it would happen someday. Dad, if I got married, I guess it was bound to happen. My daughter laughed. Just you, Nick. Don't say anything yet. I want to tell him myself. Michael talked a little more with his daughter and happily went home. The girl dialed a familiar number. Nick, Daddy brought us this. She laughed. Come and have a look. Half an hour later, Nick showed up at Miranda's office. They got into a car together and tried to drive it. Nick was driving. The guy stopped near a familiar place. Miranda, I'm going to show you something, taking his wife by the hand. Carefully, he led her to our Volga. They'd already made their nest. Miranda heard the chicks squeaking. The mother and Volga were feeding them hard. Kolenka. The girl hugged her husband. And I'm pregnant. You too will soon become a daddy. The guy looked at Miranda in amazement. Tears ran down his cheeks. Miranda, is it really true? He kissed his wife's eyes. How happy am I? This is the best day of our lives. Thank you for everything. This is for you, thank you, beloved. Miranda smiled and squeezed his eyes shut. Hoklas of our happiness.